Yeah. So you've got to realize that most of us haven't become conscious enough to really select foods. We're still getting stimulants and depressants and using food as a narcotic. With that said, let's go back to what I've said 3 times today. This will be the 4th. At first, I don't care if you overeat raw food. Why? Because think about how much better this is than overeating the food you used to eat. What will happen, this I assure you, as years, and it took me years, to become happy enough with who I was not to use food as dope, you'll eventually start to eat what you want to eat. But the right raw food is mostly water. Remember that. So don't get anal about it. Get anal, you may be under-eating or overeating.
One other question about sprouts. I have, I'm sure a lot of people do, I have the sprouters, the easy sprouters, the sprout people. Once they're sprouted, are you first supposed to take them through another process, or are they complete in that way?
When a sprout is growing to maturity, that's a sprout. Now, in a sprouter, many people choose to grow it in sea vegetable water. So in the initial stages of developing, it picks up a whole lot more nutrients. But after the fact, nothing you can do. It's already grown. And you have to eat sprouts. In my book, Life Force, I speak about the sprout pharmacy. Each have a maximum level of energy. And after that, they start to go down, fade, and eventually die.
Would the book tell me how to grow them in seawater?
Absolutely.
What's the name of this?
Life Force. Yes?
Brian, the seaweed, it said when you see it in the health food stores, nori, the wakame, I think it's called, it's dry. Is that the way that you...
As long as it says raw.
As long as it's raw?
Yeah, some of it is cooked, you realize. You can get it raw.
What about when you're talking about soak it and get all the salt off it? I've heard a lot of times that you get rid of the minerals too from the seaweed.
Anyone that would tell you that doesn't know about seaweeds. Some seaweeds you have to cook the hell out of them. I won't even tell you to eat them, like the tzatziki, to even get the absorption of it. So that's how hard it is to get minerals out of a seaweed. The cells are so tight. So you won't lose anything, believe me. Yes?
Can you give us an example of a day of yours, what you eat?
So a day of mine, 38 years later, doesn't resemble what most of you would be eating. I eat very, very little now. That's simple. I drink a lot of juice and eat very little. And so if you were an athlete competing at 20 years old for something, it's different than a 60-year-old lady trying to heal cancer. So that's really individualized. That's why when people come to us, we do blood tests, not at the beginning of their stay, but also at the end. For the rest of their life for free, we counsel them through the mail, and we keep tweaking. As years and decades go by, here's what's best for you now.
Now, is it effective to come for 1 week, or is it really
Again, the
effective?
program is 3 weeks. It
It's
goes
only
from,
3 weeks.
oh, listen closely.
I'm sorry.
The program is 3 weeks. It goes from A to Z. Now, people can come for a week. That's almost always alumni. People can come for 2 weeks, like me. I couldn't go anywhere for 3 weeks. I just couldn't possibly make that time. And people who have the ability or the wisdom come for 3 weeks. Because if not, it's like you're getting on a train going to Philadelphia and you get off in the swamp in New Jersey somewhere. And not to say you're not going to get some benefit, but usually 1 week gets you good and sick. And then you get on the plane and you leave. And you say, what the hell did I do that for? Become 2 weeks, and that has to be a lot of people like me. I couldn't go 3 weeks someplace. It's a much bigger dynamic. But the cost isn't like 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 to you. Years ago, I thought it was so important, and now I've watched tens of thousands of people. I make it so that it's much cheaper if you stay the 3rd week. Now, what people do like you is in the summer when the children are off school, they come, bring the children.
And the kids have no problem eating these foods? That's one of my concerns.
No,
Okay.
we again are sympathetic. I have 4 children. Basically, you have to not go completely hog wild, but there's certain things that we give the children if they are not used to eating this. And it's not bacon.
What do you have against natural hygiene? And that's the first question. The second one is, what do you think of water fast?
I have nothing against anything, but I'm a scientist, so what I do is I talk about truth. I talk about chemistry. natural hygiene is an antiquated theory that pretty much says you could survive on fruits and vegetables. There's 100% information today that tells you that they don't have enough nutrition. If you have a garden in your backyard, you live in California, you keep growing it, potentially you have it. But where are you going to get your protein? What I do is I test people. When people come to me, I've been long-term natural hygienists. B12 deficiencies are a plague in 90% of the people. Vitamin D deficiency is generally a plague. Vitamin A deficiency is very common, about 50% of the people. And so after 38 years, I've seen what happens. So I'm not against or for anything. Is natural hygiene better than the hamburger diet? Of course. But is it where we should be in the 21st century? No. Water fasting we do not do. We think it's a silly thing to do today because we're clear that 92 to 94% of the people in North America are malnourished to begin with. Malnourishment means basically you are missing a vital element that makes you whole. The other mantra, when I was doing water fasting, I did 52-day water fast. I put thousands of people all over the world on water fast and then juice fast. I was running the original Living Food Center, where the word living food came from, in 1976. It was Dr. Christine Nulfes, a medical doctor who healed herself on a natural hygiene diet 90 years ago. And when I was running that center, who came there was unique to me, because the only people back then who came to Hippocrates were dying. The doctor would say, okay, you're going to die in 20 hours? Okay, I'll come. And they'd show up. Yeah. And so who came to health centers in Scandinavia were healthy people. And I'm putting them on water fast, and here they are laying on the couch with their eyeballs going and their tongue hanging out. So I couldn't go with my theory anymore and say, oh, they're detoxing, all that bullshit stuff. And basically I went down to the bibliothèque, the library, and I discovered this number that still stands the same. It went up about 3% by the way. So we put people on fast. I've been doing 1 day a week fast for 37 years. I've missed 2 weeks. But we don't put it on starvation diets. We put them on green juices, which I just had an extraordinary one here. Wheatgrass juice. Why? Because, again, these type of juices have 30 times more nutrition than the best vegetable. If you strain them, there's no particulate, and most important, they are complete protein. What happens when you're fasting is your blood sugar, in 60 to 70% of your cases, are whacked to begin with. It really gets whacked if you're doing this, and most natural hygienists are fruit addicts. So they're eating massive fruit, and they're some of the worst people I see with low and high blood sugar conditions. They end up with diabetes if they keep it up. And it swings. This regulates blood sugar, so you're not hungry and starving and freaking out and running around. But let's be candid. Is natural hygiene a lot better than the average diet? Yes. But let's not stop there and make that a religion. And let's not stop Hippocrates and say what I teach you today, we shouldn't improve next year.
And what I realize is when people go on a water fast, after the fast they eat more than originally.
Exactly. So where this one, you're getting consistent blood sugar regularization. Plus, we in America like big numbers. We're impressed. We're going to do 20-day, 30-day, 60-day fast. We're all from Texas or someplace? Fact of the matter is, it's better to consistently eat right, 1 day a week, don't eat solid food, you fast. That's 52 days in a year. Let me show you some magic numbers. And I learned this not because I was smart enough. One of my first mentors in this field was Paul Bragg. When I looked at Paul Bragg and he had a full head of white hair and he was stunningly bright and completely conscious when he was 90-some years old, I said, that guy's talking about the truth. If you do 1 day a week, 52 days a year, it takes 7 years for the body to regenerate. What does that mean? That means 7 years from today, not one cell, not one of your cells are going to be in this room that's here today. You'll have a completely, absolutely brand new body. Now with that said, on the day of the 7th year, you will have fasted 364 days with 1 day of rest. Just like you were told on the first page of the Bible. It takes how many days for the world to be created? What did they tell you to do on the 7th? Rest. Now you get the picture. It wasn't only close liquor stores and watch football. They're talking about rest. And that's why when I was in Jerusalem, and I went around and I talked to the Muslims, and I talked to the Orthodox Greek Christian, the original Christians, and I talked to the rabbis, they were all fasting 1 day a week. So they get it.